Shalom, shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Mekha Kudash. I want to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And as lesson, get uncomfortable until you're comfortable being uncomfortable. All right, and this is something that the apostles had mentioned yesterday. I believe Apostle Tahar said it, and then Apostle Ramlab, sort of put it together, so I said, well, hey, that's a lesson right there, but get uncomfortable until you are comfortable being uncomfortable. And that is a good, you could say, habit or mindset to put yourself in, because a lot of people don't like being uncomfortable. That's one thing that people always try to run away from, especially here in this world today. They teach you that anything that makes you feel uncomfortable is bad, but not everything that makes you feel uncomfortable is bad, because in some cases, in order for you to grow and to progress and to get to a certain point, you have to be uncomfortable, because change doesn't come by comfortability. Change comes through being uncomfortable. All right. And they teach you that, no, if it doesn't, if it doesn't feel nice to your flesh, if it doesn't appease to your flesh, and, whatever it is, then it's not good. But guess what? In order to be a disciple, you need to be disciplined. And to be disciplined is uncomfortable. All right. Because you're going to be put in certain situations, whether you're put on the spot or whether you have to do something that you wouldn't normally do. It's all a part of it. But the more you remain uncomfortable and you get used to it, as they say, you grow a tough skin, to where when you get comfortable being uncomfortable, all right, that's when you actually start to grow. Because a lot of people are not comfortable with being uncomfortable because they've never been uncomfortable like that before. So they don't know what it's like, and they don't want to put themselves in that situation. But when you come into this truth, you have to be ready to be made uncomfortable, because that is how you grow. That is how you learn. That's how you experience things. And through experience, you gain more knowledge and wisdom, okay, and understanding. So I'm going to start off here in the book, actually, of Sirach, chapter 2, verse 1. And here's a verse that pretty much goes in line with this topic. And it says here, Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Now, what is temptation? Temptation is you being uncomfortable. When you're tempted, you're put, depending on what the temptation is, you're put in a position of uncomfortability. Okay? Sometimes you're in a hard, straight, you're in a trying situation, and it doesn't feel good. As a matter of fact, let's actually go real quick to the book of Hebrews, the 12th chapter. Okay? Because guess what? As the scriptures talk about, the Lord chastises whom he loves. Well, the chastisement doesn't feel good now, does it? Okay, this is Hebrews chapter 12, verse, I'm going to start at verse 5. And it says, my son, or Salakia, verse 4. It says, ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And have ye forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children? My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord. And the chastening of the Lord can be very uncomfortable at times. All right. But that's why the scriptures tell you to prepare your heart, prepare your mind for that. All right. And constantly endure. When you have to endure something, it's not a good a sweet feeling, right? Verse 6, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth, right, every son whom he receiveth, okay? And being scourged is not a pleasant thing. Being chastised doesn't feel good. Now I'm going to actually jump down to the main point here, verse 11, okay? Hebrews 12 and 11. Now no chastening of the present seemeth to be joyous, okay? Why? Because it makes you uncomfortable. But grievous, nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. All right. So no chastening of the present seemeth to be joyous, because it's going to make you uncomfortable. But the more you are uncomfortable and the more you stay uncomfortable and you don't just run away, the harder your skin gets. Okay. And soon you start to become comfortable being uncomfortable. And when you hit that point, you're able to, as it says here, afterward, it yieldeth the peaceable fruit. Now, let's say you personified gold, right? Gold, maybe a gold bar or whatever it is. And you first get, now let's say the gold, you gave it human-like characteristics. It can feel, it can talk, it can do all of the above. And you get this gold out of the ground and it's dirty, and you are purifying this gold. And you put it in the fire, you know, to purify it. When that gold is being put in the fire, that gold is not going to be, oh, damn, oh, that's nice. Oh, my God, right here. Right. No, the gold is going to be, if it, like I said, if it could talk, the gold will be screaming. You know, the gold will be saying, make a stop. Oh, my gosh, this doesn't feel good. What the hell are you doing? Are you trying to kill me? Oh, my, please, please. That's what the gold will be saying, because the gold will be it will be uncomfortable. Okay. The beginning, when you first put it in that fire, it's going to be uncomfortable because it's hot. But as the gold stays in the fire through the uncomfortability, and eventually the gold realizes that it has no option but to deal with the situation that it's put in, eventually it starts learning how to be comfortable with that. But what's happening through the process? By the time the gold stops screaming and you remove the gold from the fire, it's going to be what? Purified. Okay? Because at that point, it's comfortable being uncomfortable, but that's because it's grown. Okay? When you are at the point where you are comfortable being uncomfortable, that's because you've grown. Because there was a point in time when you didn't like to be uncomfortable. Anything that could remotely, you know, offend you or make you feel hurt or you didn't like, guess what? You wouldn't deal with. But now you're able to deal with it. A lot of people didn't know how to deal with rebuke. All right? How to be cursed out and not hate somebody. You know, and not react impulsively. You know, how to just be quiet and humbly endure whatever it is that you have to go through. But being in this truth, or the constant, you know, being in situations like that, and over time, you start to understand. All right. And you start to know, okay, you know what? It's all a part of it. And that actually makes you different. That purifies you. By the time you are comfortable being uncomfortable, you're purified. You know, you sort of become like indestructible, okay, because you like build a tolerance so you can handle certain things. And that's why over time in this truth, you notice that you start to become numb to certain things. You know, certain things don't really bother you like they did before. Certain things, it just doesn't get to you because you become numb to it. As opposed to where in the past, you would have flew off at the handle. You would have just lost it. You know, you would have just, no, not me. That is not me. But if you notice, when you look back at yourself in the past and yourself now, if you've been doing what you're supposed to do, you'll notice there's a change, right? There's a change. Paul talks about not being conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, going through that process of renewing your mind is not comfortable. You bearing that cross is not comfortable. People are going to come against you and scoff at you. You know, you're going to have to humble down and forget all the things you thought you knew and learn it all again. Fall right in line. But over time, when you get comfortable in that, you'll realize that you've actually grown. You've become better. You've been made better. All right, that's the point of it. You're not being made uncomfortable just for the hell of it. You know, you just want to be uncomfortable. It just feels good. No, but there's a growth. All right, a great reward that comes from that, and it's going to be very essential for you to be able to go through these situations and deal with it. Now, this is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 2. It says, "For it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart." So people, you notice people that are constantly going out and partying and clubbing, that's all they do. But somebody that mourns, they don't mourn forever. Eventually they get over it. But the reason they're able to get over it is because they come up with a resolve. You know, they finally hit a point where they decide to change, or something clicks in their head, or they set a goal and they move on and they progress. Because mourning is an uncomfortable position, and you don't want to keep mourning. You don't want to be in that uncomfortable position. Okay? So they decide, you know what? What can I do to get me out of this, but in a good way? And as we go on, and that's why it says the living will lay it to his heart. But really, the prudent, okay? Verse 3, sorrow is better than laughter. For by the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. Now, this doesn't mean that you cannot laugh. You know, if you catch yourself laughing, nope, you got to be serious because, no, I'm going off, I'm laughing. No, all right? But as it says here, by the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. Because when you are sad, for example, you may have an argument with somebody, right? And they may be wrong, but they may get emotional. And so they get emotional, and then you guys get into a fight, and then you guys break off. But then over time, you guys make up because the person comes back and says, yo, you know what? I was out of line. I'm sorry, my bad. You know, blase, blase, blah. Now, why would the person, if they have some sense in their head, come back to you later on and apologize? Because after the emotion passes, after the anger and the frustration and all that wears off, what are you left with? You're left with sorrow. Because now you broke up a friendship or a relationship or whatever it was, and you're starting to sit down and reflect. Okay, you're starting to reflect on what's going on, and you can think clearly, and you eventually have to realize that, you know what? I was emotional. I was going off. Okay? So now you have to what? You have to man up or woman up or be the bigger person and go and apologize and humble down, okay? And go and make things right. Because eventually, after the emotions pass, you are forced to think straight. Why do you think that after, when, like, most arguments, rah, 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 whatever, and then after a while, they make up again? Because during that whatever period, they calm down and they think. They think. When she's crying over there because she was talking shit and you weren't handling it, or you weren't trying to deal with it, you told her, get out of here, and she left and she starts crying and she's sitting there, eventually the tears dry up and she's there with her thoughts and she starts thinking and thinking and thinking, and she realizes that, no, I can't play this game with this guy. You know, I got to come correct. It's me. Okay? And during sorrow, that's when people have those serious reflections. You know, they think, how, like if you're in a bad situation, you think, well, how did I get here? You may be in jail or hurt or arrested, or you hurt somebody. If you notice, a lot of life-changing or people who change their ways is because they go through something bad, something sorrowful, that finally makes them realize, yo, I shouldn't be doing it. What the hell am I doing in my life? They sit back and they realize, no, I can do better than this. I should be doing something much more than this. You know, and eventually they start to change their life. But somebody that's in folly and mirth all the time, why do you think they stay that way? Because they don't want to change. It's fun, right? In their mind, they're having a good old time doing the same thing over and over again, and they don't see why they should change. There's no motivation. There's no reason for them not to keep doing what they're doing because they like it. But when you're in sorrow, nobody really wants to remain sorrowful. Okay? Verse 4 says, the heart, and remember, it's uncomfortable. But it says the heart is made better. That's why when you read the scriptures, it tells you that it'll be in your mouth sweet as honey, but when it gets to your belly, it'll be bitter. But if you notice, it stays in your, the time where it's in your belly is longer than the time where it's in your mouth. So after a period of time in this truth, you start to taste the bitterness. And it does make you sorrowful, and it does make you uncomfortable, but you don't have a choice. In this truth, you don't have a choice. The truth is the way it is, and it's uncomfortable, but you have to get used to that. That's the only way, because the truth is not going to become comfortable for you. You need to do something about yourself. The situation is what it is. The condition of the battle remains the same. We still have to endure this. We still got to catch up. We still got to do what we got to do. So that's exactly what we have to do. We got to do what we got to do. Because the Lord isn't going to change things because we don't want to change. We have to change to match the Lord's time, to match his agenda. He's not changing his agenda to match how we feel. So if his agenda makes you uncomfortable, then you need to start being comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to stay uncomfortable until you can be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a lot of comfortable, but that's what it is. Okay? If you don't like being uncomfortable, well, you got to just keep doing it. But now you got to use wisdom, of course. I'm not saying anything that makes you uncomfortable, something that has no benefit. It just makes you, oh, well, hey, I was listening to the video. The brother said if it's uncomfortable, go do it. So shit, I put my hands in fire. It's uncomfortable, but I was trying to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You'd be surprised, man. But verse 4 says, the heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. Right? Because in the house of mirth, what can you really learn? Where's the reflection? Where do you sit down and look back and say, how did I end up here? And how can I make sure I don't end up here? Or how can I make myself better? Or what can I do differently? You don't. Because it's mirth. All right? But in the house of mourning, that's really where the self-reflection comes in. Repentance starts with mourning. Because to repent, you first need to acknowledge and feel sorry for what you did. As Paul mentioned, godly sorrow. Okay? Repentance doesn't start with mirth. Repentance starts with mourning. When you find out you've been going off and you find out that you've been, doing all this wickedness, or you've done something wrong, what happens? When Nathan came to King David and told him and put him on the spot and let him know, yo, you going off. Did David jump out and start dancing? Call out the sons of Asaph and the musicians. We gonna have a party tonight? No, he didn't. He mourned. He was sorrowful. And that made him better because that was him repenting. Okay? But you have some people who, out of mirth, they wouldn't even acknowledge that they've done something wrong because that's all they can think about. They're not serious. And the Lord is not looking for people like that. The Lord needs those who are serious. It's not always about laughing and giggling and, hee ha hoo. No. Most of the time, it's not about that. Because what is there really to laugh and giggle about? We're in oppression under the most wicked, vile creature in all of existence. This, like, in a matter of, however long it is before all hell breaks loose, there's not going to be mirth. People are not going, except for the Lord's elect, but even in that, okay, it's not going to be, the world is not going to be in a position of laughing and giggling. So what's really so funny? If you really think about the prophecies and the condition we're in, we have gone off and we're coming back to seek mercy from the Heavenly Father. And we don't know if we're of the elect or not. And we don't know if we're going to be delivered or not. So where's the mirth? What's the cause for partying? Why should you be comfortable? Comfortability is what got you to go off. Comfortability is what got you to worship other gods. Comfortability, because you started lacking in the fear of the Lord, is what got us in this position. So why shouldn't we be uncomfortable? Verse 5, it is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. Now, the rebuke of the wise, if you do something and you get rebuked for it, do you know why people buck up when they get rebuked? Because it's uncomfortable. The reason people leave, get butthurt, start to hate you, start to get mad at you, and they can't see the bigger picture is because being rebuked doesn't feel good, right? There's a scripture that says there is a rebuke that is not calmly, you know? So when you have to acknowledge and admit that you were wrong, and then you have to be quiet and either be cursed at or yelled at or humiliated or whatever the case may be, and then be punished on top of that, that's not comfortable. That's not a fun feeling. But you have some people that are afraid of uncomfortability. They can't do it, even if they have to. So instead, what do they say? No, I can't do it. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to stay uncomfortable. I don't want to get used to that. You know? So eventually maybe they may manage to make it through the first rebuke, but then sometime down the line they may go off again. And then they may get rebuked then. But since they never got comfortable being uncomfortable, they never learned how to handle themselves in situations like that. Each time they get rebuked is like the first. They can't do it. Okay? And eventually they hit a point where they just say, F it. F you, F this, I'm not with the shit, and they leave. And then they spend the rest of their life hating you. But it says here, it is better to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to deal with it. And when you train yourself comfortable being uncomfortable, you got to deal with it. And when you train yourself to know how to deal with it, when you're put in a situation like that, you're not going to lose it. You're going to know, all right, well, hey, this is a part of it. We got to go through it. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you got to be a grown-up. You have to grow up in this truth. You can't be a child or a kid who just gets upset at everything, throws a temper tantrum, and doesn't know how to handle themselves. Okay? Because that's not the behavior, and that's not becoming of somebody that is supposed to be a future judge. Okay? It's somebody that's supposed to, rule over the Lord's people. You got to have your emotions and your feelings in check. Right? That's all of us. Okay? Because the Lord, he doesn't deal on that level. He doesn't deal on that type of time. You think if Abraham got emotional, he would be where he is now? You think if Job got emotional like his wife did, Job learned how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. It didn't feel good. He was upset. But what choice did he have? You think it was a comfortable decision being told that your heir, you finally get an heir with your old age. The Lord is a miracle. The Lord gave you a son, not a daughter, a son, right? And then he said, sacrifice him. Do you think that's a comfortable thing to do? He ain't tell Sarah. So how come Abraham was able to do that? Or in his mind was ready and willing to do it? Because he understood what that meant. Now, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 4, verse 15. And ultimately, it's about understanding the bigger picture. Okay? The bigger picture, like we read about the chastisement in the book of Hebrews, the 12th chapter. No chastisement, for the present, it feels nice. It doesn't feel nice, but you look at the bigger picture. Okay? Certain vegetables, you know why kids don't like it? Because it doesn't taste good. But you look at the bigger picture. Why should I keep eating these vegetables even though they don't taste good and I don't like it? And it makes me uncomfortable because I don't like it. Well, because it's healthy for you, and it's gonna prevent you from getting sick, as opposed to you eating the things that make you comfortable and make you happy. You got to look at the bigger picture. That's why the scriptures talk about enduring hardness as a good soldier. All right, having to endure hardness is not comfortable. But a soldier that's able to do it, it doesn't mean that it when people say it gets easier over time, it doesn't get easier over time. You just get better at handling it. Okay? You're starting to, be able to maneuver through it. Doesn't mean that it got easier. Okay, it just means that you're getting better, you're growing. So it may seem like it's easier to you, but that's because you're growing. When you first start working out, you know, and you're let's say you're doing bicep curls and you're lifting dumbbells and you start with 15 pounds. Okay, maybe you do 10 reps of 15 pounds, so you curl it 10 times. And the first time you hit 7 and you like, God, oh my gosh, like this is too much. My arms are burning. I can't pick it up. Your form is all messed up. But you managed to hit 9, maybe 10, but the 10th one is a little but your trainer's like, you know what? You got it. You go home like, whew. The next day you wake up mad sore. It doesn't feel good. Your arm hurts. It feels like somebody just pulled the freaking tissues out and all of that. And it's sore. That's uncomfortable, right? But if you keep going to the gym and you keep on working and you keep every time you keep at it, you come back again. This time you hit that 10, you know, and soon you hit 20. You know what's going to happen? A couple months down the line, you're not going to be curling 10 pounds. You're going to be curling a much heavier weight. But if your trainer was to tell you, yo, go give me 10 reps of those 10-pound dumbbells, you're going to look at him like, what? That's mad light. Now, did the weights get lighter? No. Because 10 pounds is still 10 pounds. So why does it feel lighter to you? It's either you or the weight. And we know the weight doesn't change. So how come all of a sudden you're comfortable doing curling 10-pound dumbbells? But when you started, it was very uncomfortable. All of a sudden, it's easier. It's light. You wouldn't mind doing it. You know why? Because the fact that you kept doing it over and over and over again, even though it was hard, even though you felt the lactic acid building up and it burned and it didn't feel good when you first started because it was uncomfortable, because you weren't used to it, what happened? Every time you did it, you started to get used to it. And as you started to get used to it and you started to get stronger, you became comfortable doing it. If it was uncomfortable, guess what? It stayed uncomfortable. But because you got comfortable with that uncomfortability, to you, it became lighter. But the weight is still the same. That's what the truth is, man. That's what our journey is. Really, that's what life is. Okay? Life doesn't get easier. But if you keep at it, you'll get better at handling certain situations. That's why those that are older are esteemed, because they've gone through these different things. Okay? So they know how to handle certain situations. That's why you can go to somebody and ask them for advice and they'll tell you, oh, well, I went through that before. You may say, no, that's impossible. How? That's not. They say, well, I did it. You know, and they might come and demonstrate something to you and you may say, well, how the hell you do that? You know, what do you mean? How do you make it look so light? No, it's still the same weight. You just now have to go through that journey. Okay? So going back to the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 4, verse 15, whoso giveth ear unto her shall judge the nations. Hey, I'll give you an example. The apostles, right? Back 2,000 years ago, when they started off, what did they start off as? Disciples. How many times did the Lord curse out Peter? How many times did the Lord curse out the disciples when they were disciples? The apostles when they were disciples? Was he not constantly getting on them? Telling them about how little faith they had? You know? They would ask a certain question. You'd be like, you don't understand. This whole time I've been with you, you still don't understand what that means? And it says Yahushua was austere, so you know he railed on them a couple of times. Maybe not a couple more often. Because they were always with him. Do you think that was comfortable? The Messiah, you know who he is, and you know his attitude, and he's constantly getting on your ass. Sometimes you may feel like it's not your fault, but why are you yelling at me? That was Hitman, you know. But you got to deal with it. What are you gonna do? Well, that's what the Lord asked him, right? That's what he asked her. Are you gonna leave too? And what did Peter say? Where will we go, Lord? You have the keys. You got the way to salvation. So even if we don't like the way you yell at us or the way you curse us out or how you constantly get on us, we don't got an option. We don't have a choice. So what do we got to do? You cursing me out makes me uncomfortable, but what you got is what I need. Right? You got what I need. So you got what I need. So where am I gonna go? Nowhere. Now what do I have to do? I say, you know what? I just got to deal with it. Yahushua is not gonna change. The fact that he has what I need is not gonna change. Me being uncomfortable, that's just the way it is. So what happens? I need to start getting used to that. I need to know that, guess what? Hey, if he curses me out, he curses me out. I'm gonna deal with it. Now, does that mean that I'm gonna keep doing the same thing he cursed me out over? No. That means that, you know what, a part of being comfortable with this is, all right, yo, I did this way. He cursed me out. I didn't like it, but next time, you know what? I'm gonna not do it that way. I'm gonna do it another way, so I don't get cursed out. You know, and soon you realize that, oh shit, I'm getting cursed out less and less. You know, oh shoot, one time he said congratulations. You're getting comfortable being uncomfortable, but that's because you're rolling with the punches. You're learning because you stayed. You didn't say, he cursed me out, my feelings are hurt, I ain't with the shit. No, he said, whatever. Yeah, you know what? It is what it is. Man, yeah, I was wrong. I'm gonna take that. You know, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna just deal with it. And then soon, over the years, you get comfortable, you grow. When I say comfortable, I don't mean complacent. I mean you learn to deal with it. Okay, to the point where it's normal. You don't get offended. You know, you take. You know what I'm saying? You learn and you grow. And what happened? They went from being disciples. They went from being disciples to being apostles. Peter went from taking a couple steps on the water to sinking and crying for the Lord to help him to raising people from the dead. Right? Having to manage the church, being the head. After being cursed out all those times and, you know, being told this, that, they were afraid of the waves when it started going crazy that they were going to drown. Right? And the Lord cursed them out then. But then you look at the works they were doing and how the Lord put them in charge of everybody else. Because all the things they were going through, the uncomfortable times they went through, guess what? It was all worth it. You know, and then if you ask them, they'll tell you they'll do it again. Because it was all worth it. Because by the time they got to the point where they were comfortable being uncomfortable, they were apostles. And they could look back and say, oh man, this is why I had to be uncomfortable. But this is why I had to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable so that I could get here. Because the road to getting here is an uncomfortable road. But if I'm not comfortable and I don't keep walking that road and I don't learn how to, then I can't make it here. I need to change. I got to do what I got to do. And that means just that. You got to do what you got to do. Ain't no plan Bs. There's no other option. So now let's go here. Sirach chapter 4, verse 15. Whoso giveth ear unto her, talking about wisdom, shall judge the nations, and he that attendeth unto her shall dwell safely. If a man commit himself unto her, he shall inherit her. Right? But you have to commit yourself. And his generation shall hold her in possession. For at the first she will walk with him by crooked ways. Keyword, at the first. Right? And bring fear and dread upon him, and torment him with her discipline until she may trust his soul and try him by her laws. So when you first come into the truth, that's why when the bitterness first hits, that's you being tried and wisdom walking with you by crooked ways. And you thinking, wait, time out. Why am I going through all these bad things when I'm supposed to be doing the right thing? I'm serving the Lord, right? Why is it so, why do I have to jump through hoops of fiery rings trying to do the right thing? But you start to realize, damn, this is, your family's coming against you. You're being looked at as a demon, this, that. You like, yo, what the hell? Demons messing with you. You feeling the uncomfortability. You like, man, you come across a certain verse and you like, what the hell does this mean? You busting your head. All these different things you have to go through. Okay? All these things you have to go through, wisdom walking with you by grace. That's making you uncomfortable. All right? That's making you uncomfortable. But The reason that wisdom has to keep doing that and torment you with her dread and her discipline is to see if you can be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because if you can't be comfortable being uncomfortable, then you can't be a part of the Lord's army. Because when uncomfortability arises, you're going to be offended and you're going to run away. So the Lord needs to try you first. That's what wisdom does. It tries you to see, do you want this enough to where you're willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable? And if you are, that's when it says, until she may trust his soul. Because she looks at you now and says, the only way you were able to make it here was because you learned to be uncomfortable or be comfortable being uncomfortable. And so now I can what? I can trust you with my soul and try him with her ways. Then will she return the straight way onto him. That's why it starts to feel easier. Because you've passed the stage of being tried. Now the straight ways get returned onto you. So you feel like it's easier. No, it's just because you were able to make it there. It says, the straight way onto him and comfort him and show him her secrets. But this is the same truth that was bringing fear and dread and torment upon you. But now, it will comfort you. Because you're comfortable being uncomfortable. Because think about it, right? You have a comfort zone where you are at. That's where you like to be. Then there's the uncomfortable zone. And then you're thrown into the uncomfortable zone, and you're either going to do one of two things. You're going to stay in there, or you're going to jump out. But if you jump out, you'll always be uncomfortable there, and you'll never be able to do anything about it. But if you stay in there and learn to be comfortable in there, what happens? Now that becomes a comfort zone. Because you're comfortable in an uncomfortable zone. And wherever you're comfortable is a comfort zone. So all of a sudden, what used to be uncomfortable has now become a comfort zone. And now you don't have that weakness of, yo, this makes me uncomfortable. I can't do it. Because when you have to do it, you'll be able to do it. All right? Verse 19, it says, but if he go wrong, she will forsake him and give him over to his own ruin. So the second you're put in there, you say, nah, I can't do this. I did this for 5 years, but why do you think people fall out the truth? You want to know why somebody might be in the truth 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and then they fall out the truth? And you say, wait, hold on. You were in the truth for 15 years and you fell out after 15 years? Not after 3 years, not after 4 years, but after 15 years? Why would you go all of that and then fall out now? Because the truth stays uncomfortable. The truth it stays the way it is. So it doesn't matter how long you've been in it, it stays the way it is. But if you're not changing along and growing and progressing, the uncomfortability, look, you could turn it into a comfort zone. But then guess what? If you don't keep it as a comfort zone and you don't keep growing, guess what? You're going to meet another comfort zone and you're going to get booted out. So you may be able to make it 5 years, 10 years. But can you keep being uncomfortable? Can you keep being comfortable in this truth? And I don't mean that in the complacent way, oh, I've done 10 years, I ain't going to do this no more. Guess what? You got to go on and teach every single week. So when it's cold, when it's springtime, allergy season, when it's hot as shit and you sweating bullets, does that ever change? No. The winter's still the winter. Still cold as hell. Pollen still gets released in the spring. You still sneeze. Your eyes still itch. Your nose still gets watery. Summertime comes, you still sweat. You still get sticky. You still get, thirsty. That every single year. But the truth says, the Lord said, you still got to go out and teach in that. So whether you do it for 3 years or 8 years or 12 years, guess what? Every single winter is still going to be cold. Every single summer is still going to be hot. That's not going to change. But are you going to be able to say, oh, damn, that first winter was cold as shit. You know what? Next time I'm going to come with a bigger jacket. I'm going to learn how to be comfortable in this because I have to. This is what I got to do now. Now that I'm a part of this truth, I have to go out there every single week. So if that's the case, and I know wintertime comes and it gets cold and summertime comes and it gets hot, you know, and springtime comes, I got to prepare for this. So when the wintertime comes, I'm like, yo, you know what? You got me last year, but I'm learning to be comfortable in this. You know why? Because I got to do it. So I'm going to learn how to cope with it. If I need a bigger jacket, earmuffs, I got bigger jacket and earmuffs. Summertime comes, if I need to bring me a gallon of water, I'm bringing a gallon of water. If I need to take Advil or whatever, Claritin, you know, for the spring, I'm going to take Claritin. If I need to stay away from dairy so that the mucus isn't too much so it doesn't affect me, I'm going to do exactly that. But I need to keep on doing that continuously, keep on being comfortable in this uncomfortable situation in order to keep making it. Like the elder Apostle Ramlab went into the video, he did a lesson on the goal. And then he went into the definition of the word goal, which is, you know, pretty much you having and maintaining a certain action that's going to get you to that destination. And until you reach that destination, you have to keep doing that same action. And then when you get there, you can terminate that action. You don't have to do it anymore. Well, guess what? Until salvation comes, we got to still be comfortable being uncomfortable. And you never know when something real uncomfortable might come your way. So you got to keep adjusting. So that's why somebody can go 15 years and fall out, because the 15th year, they were just like, golly, this winter, it always stays cold. And I can't keep on doing this. And that's when they get uncomfortable, and that's when they fall out. And then you wonder, how is it that you did it for all these years? Well, guess what? The condition of the battle stays the same. And if you are not constantly fighting to stay ready and to stay well and to be able to handle it, it'll hit you. All right? It'll hit you. If there's a heavy ass storm and the wind gusts are out of this world, and you just imagine you're trying to walk forward and the wind is pushing you back. The wind is going to continuously keep pushing you. But when you take step 1 and step 2, if you want to take step 3, you need to put the same amount of energy you use for step 1 and step 2. Because the second you lift up your foot and you don't got that same energy, you're going to get pushed back. So every step you take, you have to keep the same energy. And maybe you might need to put some more energy. But that's how you got to be every single. That's why the apostles stress it. Apostle Tahar especially. He says you got to stay on fire. You got to be on fire. You got to be on fire. You can't be on fire your first 3 years and then the next whatever years you start cooling down. No, you got to be on fire. That's like saying, oh, I was able to do it. I was able to be comfortable while I was uncomfortable, but not only for 3 years. What's going to happen? In the 4th year, if you can't do it, you're going to get booted. That's why the truth is a constant fight. That's why we constantly pray for the Lord to keep his Holy Spirit upon us. Okay? That's why we pray that he takes not the Spirit away from us, because it is his Spirit that has given us the strength and the will to keep on fighting. Because sometimes, man, it's not easy. All the time, really. But you just learn to deal with it. Now, this is the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6, verse 18. And it says, my son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age. Verse 19, come unto her as one that ploweth, right, and soweth, ready to work, and waiteth for her good fruits. Now, one that ploweth and soweth, and wait for her good fruits. A husbandman, for example, right? He understands that if I sow seed at this time of the year, I'm not going to come back 3 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now and have a nice crop. No. I sow at this time. There's a certain time of the year when I reap what I've sown. I have to be patient up until that time. Okay? Shalom, shalom. Yahweh Shema Shai Barakatam. This is The Erite Tazawam, Stay in the Spirit 144 by Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember now, there you go. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Okay, that's why, as we read here, Ecclesiasticus 6:18, my son, gather instruction from thy youth up. Okay, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age. Now, in the youth, as a youth, you're able to do these things and go through the as we just read in the 4th chapter, the trying ways and the dreadful paths and the torments. Okay, and you have that energy that you can give to the Lord. You can stand out there longer. You can speak longer, whatever it is, but you have that youthful energy that you can give to the Lord. That's what he wants. He doesn't want you to, it's like a woman, right? When she's in her prime, she wants to go and whore around. But then when she's all used up and she's old and she's out of her prime, then she wants to settle. And she wants to come to you. Hey, I'm ready for you now. Get the hell out of here. What you talking about? I ain't ready for you. I don't want you now. When I wanted you, of course, why would I not want you in your prime? I want you in your prime, right? But who did you go to in your prime? You went to whole around. So don't come to me now. I don't want you now. I wanted you then. But that's the Lord. Now, of course, the Lord takes his elect regardless of what your age or anything of that sort. But there's a scripture that goes into coming into your youth. Okay? And for the most part, a lot of brothers, came in their youth, in their 20s and some in their teens and 30s and so on and so forth. All right. So it says, Ecclesiasticus chapter 6, verse 19, come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth, and wait for her good fruits. See? Because the one that soweth understands that he has to wait till the harvest time to get the fruits. He's not gonna go to sleep and wake up a week later like, yo, damn, am I actually? It's like, are the crops actually gonna grow out the ground? Like, what's gonna happen? Because he already knows. Just wait. You have certain people that I'm doing all this, but I want to be there. And how do I get up there? How do I do this? Well, you have to follow the process. You got some people that come into the truth and they want to hop. They want to Michael Jordan jump from the freaking free throw line and dunk the ball. No, bro, that's not how it works. All right, you got to get in the back of the line and do training like everybody else. It says, and wait for her good fruits, for thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her, but thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon. But that's why you have to, like the scripture saying in Sirach, the 2nd chapter, set thy heart aright and constantly endure. Okay? Verse 20, she is very unpleasant to the unlearned. Now, when we first came into the truth, were we not unlearned? Did we not have to be fools to learn? Right? We were ignorant. We didn't know. That's why we learn. That's why we study. That's why we grow. So when you first come into this truth, she's unpleasant to the unlearned. Some brothers, not all brothers are studious. You in the world, you might have just, chilled, you do whatever, but you weren't somebody that reads and goes into books and studies this and does that. So coming into the truth and having to find out that you actually have to read and do research and study and listen to videos and learn. That's the bulk of this truth, is actually being studious. You have to actually, you think about it, man. Think about it. When people walk past us, yes, they see the garments. Yes, they see, men, they see the sign, but they see books. You might have your phone, but it has either the scriptures or a document or an article, but these are books. Right? The tools that we use are books. It's all information. Okay? Whether it's an article, okay, or something you printed out, or it's the physical scriptures, or it's on your phone, it's books. And what people do you see around books the most? Scholars who are studying and growing and learning. So you come around this and you're like, what is, you got this, you got to do, because when they see people of our complexion and of our nation, what do they have instead? Guns, drugs, pants sagging. That's the image that accompanies Jake. So when they come and they see men holding books, they're like, books? Books? You reading books? You know, you going into this book, you breaking down the scriptures here, you got the Bible. Sometimes people will stop and they'll look and be like, wait, did I just see a Bible in their hands? Like they're reading the Bible from the book, the verse, and they're actually explaining it, and they're studying it, and they're going and, you know, this book here and the concordance and the interlinear, and what the hell? Because that's what we're doing. All right? We're learning. But when you first come into the truth, yo, trust me, studying, no. Me, study, no. I didn't know what that was. That wasn't in my vocabulary. You can ask anybody that knew me. I didn't study. All right? If I was in school, yeah, I passed, but that's because I just paid attention in class. I didn't study. I don't know. I didn't come home and say, let me go over the notes of what we went in class today. I hated that. I hated that. When I heard study, I got upset. You know, what do you mean study? What the hell is that? It was foreign. All right. But coming into this truth, you understand. You're like, yo, I mean, I actually love studying because you're learning. But it's, you know what it is? You're learning knowledge that you should know. You're being edified. That's the thing. The knowledge of the world doesn't edify you. You just store it in your mind. But the truth edifies you. It feeds your spirit. That's why you hunger to constantly learn and go into it and this and that. Because you're not just storing information in your mind. You're feeding your spirit. That's why studying in the truth is a different feeling than studying in the world. All right. Nevertheless, as it says, she is unpleasant to the unlearned. He that is without understanding will not remain with her. Okay. Because even though when we came into this truth in this generation, we didn't know, all right, these things that we know now, it doesn't mean that it wasn't within us. That's why Peter talked about stirring up the pure remembrance. When you remember something, that means it's already put inside you. You know, it's like drinking a coffee that you may say, damn, does this have any sugar? You know, it tastes like it doesn't have any sugar. Well, maybe the sugar, you know, because you pour coffee and sugar, but you have to stir it. Because else the sugar just settles to the bottom. And you may think that it doesn't have sugar, but no, it actually does. You just have to stir it back up. So that's what it was. This had to be stirred up. The understanding was already within us. So we had to be educated, right? It had to be drawn out of us. Okay? But for those that there's nothing there to draw out of, they can't remain. They can't deal with wisdom. They can't be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's not within them. All right? They can't endure hardness as a good soldier because they're not a soldier. Verse 21, it says, she will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial. Now imagine a mighty stone on your ass. Is that comfortable? No. Because you using every muscle in your body, every ounce of your strength to keep that stone up. It feels like a burden. Okay? It says, and he will, it says, verse 21, she will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial, and he will cast her off him ere it be long. Because it's uncomfortable. And it gets to the point where he can't be comfortable in that. So he casts it off. He throws it away. He says, I can't, this truth ain't for me. All right. And some people, it's different things. Some is their woman. Some is just lacking patience. They run out of patience. Because when they came into the truth, they put a timeline. Oh, it got to be whatever. This got to happen by this time. Because it didn't happen, they ran out of patience. So they cast it off. All right. Verse 22, for wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifest unto many. Give ear, my son, receive my advice, and refuse not my counsel, and put thy feet into her fetters. Fetters are like shackles. Okay. It says, and thy neck into her chain. Once again, that is not comfortable. Because you have to discipline yourself. Realize, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, if you do, no, there are things you have to do, and there are things you cannot do. You know, so not only do you say, okay, I just got to avoid this, but no, there's certain things that you have to do. You're responsible for certain things now. Whether you're tired or you're sick or you don't want to, you don't get a choice. Because we're prisoners. So if you notice the words that are being used here, fetters, and chains, that sounds like a prisoner. That's why Paul talked about us being prisoners of hope and his yoke fellows. Okay. Verse 25, bow down thy shoulder and bear her, and be not grieved with her bonds. Though it may feel grievous at times, though it may feel uncomfortable, you got to get uncomfortable till you're comfortable being uncomfortable. Um, it says, and be not grieved with her bonds. Come unto her with thy whole heart, and keep her ways with all thy power, because it's going to take all your power to keep these ways. Verse 27, search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee. And when thou hast got hold of her, let her not go. But if you can't get to that finish line, think of it like there's a start line and there's a finish line, and in between is the uncomfortable part. So the way you're going to get hold of her is if you get to the finish line, but the way you get to the finish line is by learning how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. All right? And you got to repeat it over and over and over again so it sticks. Verse 28, for at the last thou shalt, you hear that? For at the last, that the scriptures talk about better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. For at the last thou shalt find her rest, and that she shall be turned to thy joy. So she's going to go from the shackles and the chains and the fetters to what? To joy, to reward. Because having to go through the things we go through now that are uncomfortable, and us having to deal with it, the scriptures talk about acceptable men being put in the furnace of adversity. What is that going to work for us? As Paul said, the glory that shall be revealed in us. This small tribulation is not going to compare to the glory that shall be revealed in us. The joy of the kingdom, the joy of the reward that Yahushua said he's coming with. That he said he's coming quickly, so we should hold fast that which we have and let no man take thy crown. Okay? So you have to keep fighting to keep your crown, to keep your reward, to keep your spot. That it shall be turned to joy. Verse 29, then shall her fetters be a strong defense for thee. You see? Because you made it. You know, you kept on going, and all of a sudden your perspective changes. You know? Your perspective on what is uncomfortable changes. For example, you get put on the spot, right? What does this mean? What does that mean? Give me more. Nope, you got to go deeper. No, that's not what it means. No, you should know that. You got to study. You feeling uncomfortable. You're like, damn, man, shit, I'm on the spot. You know, out of nowhere, pop question. Boom, what does this mean? Break that down. Oh, shit, damn, I haven't gone over that. Oh, what's that? You know, you may feel embarrassed. You may look a type of way. But if you say, yeah, I'm not coming anymore because, you know, I don't like that feeling. Well, guess what? When are you gonna learn? You know, you just whatever. You know, I got my feelings hurt, so that's it. But if you say, you know what, I'm gonna keep coming, and you know what, even if I get put on the spot, guess what? Whatever question I was put on the spot with last time, I'm gonna go learn that. Now I don't know what the next question is gonna be, but I know that if this question comes up again, I'm gonna answer that, and that's how you learn. Because you may start off, let's say it's 10 questions total, and you get asked 2 questions that you didn't know. You don't know the answers to any of the 10 questions. So you get put on the spot, right? This is when the uncomfortability begins. You get put on the spot. What does this mean? Break this down. I don't know. All right, cool. You go home and you learn those 2. Now, out of the 10, there's only 8 that you don't know because you've learned the 2. So the next time, you may get asked one of the questions that you went and learned, and you may get asked a question you don't know. Still uncomfortable because you put on the spot and you don't know one of the questions, but it's not as bad because you know one of the questions. And then you go and you learn that. And each time you get asked something you don't know, you feel uncomfortable, you go and learn it, you come back, guess what? Eventually, you're going to learn all 10 questions. And then when you put on the spot, you know what? You're not going to feel uncomfortable. Why? Because you learned those questions. Now you're going to want to be put on the spot because you're like, yeah, I'm ready. You know, ask me that question, I'm going to answer it. So all of a sudden, that situation where in your mind, you know, if you're somebody that's like, you get stage fright or you're uncomfortable being looked at, or, you know, it's something that you feel is very uncomfortable for you, all of a sudden you like, this is normal. You know, you had to ask, what does this mean? Oh, boom. Then you go to the script, you go Revelation 13 here. This is what it's talking about. Boom. Okay, break down the word this. What is the Hebrew word for that? Oh, well, the Hebrew word is this, and this means this. Boom. Now, all of a sudden, you don't get that feeling of embarrassment or that feeling of sorrow or whatever you may have felt. Now you get that feeling of, you feel good, you feel comfortable, and you don't even feel uncomfortable anymore. Because you've learned, you've grown. Now remember, the only thing that changed was really you. Because what was the situation? You were put on the spot, right? You were still put on the spot. You were asked questions. You're still asked questions. But what changed? You changed. Why don't you feel uncomfortable anymore? Because you grew. Because you kept coming. Because you kept being uncomfortable and learning how to be comfortable in that. And now you've got to the point where that uncomfortability doesn't feel uncomfortable anymore. Because you stayed through it. And that was for your benefit. So now those 10 questions you didn't know before, guess what? Now you know them. But the battle doesn't stop there. Because then you come the next time and you get asked 15 questions that you don't know. So now you're back to square one, but you're on level 2. You're on square one and level 2. And you repeat the process, and you repeat the process, and you repeat the process. And next thing you know, you still feel like you're on square one, but you're on level 50. Square one, but you're on level 60. And you're growing, and you're growing, and you're growing. So there's always going to be a time in this truth or in life when you will be uncomfortable. That's not going to stop. We're not in the kingdom. It doesn't matter how much you know or what you've experienced. There's always going to be something that the Lord can throw your way that'll make you uncomfortable. But that's when you have to remember, let me repeat the process. Let me not back out and run away. Because I know what will happen if I stay and I learn to be comfortable in that. I'm going to grow. And then I'm going to have to face the next thing. But that's how you grow. That's why it's a constant battle. You know, it's a constant battle. Let's see where I was. I was Ecclesiasticus chapter 6, verse I'm going to read verse 29 again. It says, then verse 28 actually, for at the last thou shalt find her rest, and that shall be turned into thy joy. Then shall her fetters be a strong defense for thee. Okay, a strong defense for thee, and her chains a robe of glory. So all of a sudden the embarrassment has now turned to glory. No, not in being proud or being high-minded, you know, but now you go from, how don't you supposed to know that, to, that's what's up, good job. Next, you know, it has changed because you stuck through it, and you're growing. And that's what the Lord is looking for. Because now he can say, now I could put you in a certain position to do something else for me. Because I know I've put you through it. I've put you through the ringer. And guess what? You stayed through it. A shepherd, when you feed in the sheep, guess what? A wolf could pull up on your ass. A lion could pull up on your ass. A bear could pull up on your ass. You're afraid. But are you going to run away and leave the sheep? Well, the Lord needs to know that. So maybe your first day, he might throw all 3 at you and see what you do. And if you could make it through that, then yeah, you're good. The next time you see a wolf, you might not panic the same way you panicked the first time. Because you're like, this time I came with a club. Pull up, nigga. You know, you know, yo, I got some fire, or whatever the case may be. Verse 30, it says, for there is a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are purple lace. Verse 31, thou shalt put her on as a robe of honor. You see, as a robe of honor. Next thing you know, you start asking to be put on the spot. It says, and shall put her about thee as a crown of joy. So at the end of the hardships and the uncomfortability, you're gonna benefit from it. Okay? You're gonna benefit from it. People don't like to do things that don't feel good. But why do people do it anyway? You think it's just because they like to do things they don't like? No. It's because there's a greater benefit. They're looking at the bigger picture. All right, so I got 2 more precepts, and then Lord willing, close it out. Okay, which I quoted one of these earlier in the book of Timothy. Okay, and remember, as we read these precepts, we have to apply them. Okay, we have to apply them and remember these words. Okay, because we're all, none of us are above being the Lord putting us in these situations. It's about how you handle them. The book of 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 3. And it says, "Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushua HaMashiach. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. And if a man also strive for the masteries," are we not striving for the masteries? Yes, we are. "Yet is he not crowned, except he strive lawfully." So there's a certain way. You have to do it the right way. You can't go around. No, there's only one way, which is what? The straight gate. All right, so this leads me into my last precept. Okay, the straight gate is the right way. That's how you achieve the masteries. That's the path you have to go on. Okay, and that path is not comfortable because it's called the straight gate for a reason. Straight, not meaning straight, S-T-R-A-I-G-H-T, straight as in S-T-R-A-I-T, straight, position of difficulty. All right, this is Luke 13 and 24. It says here, let's start at 23. "Then said one unto him, Lord, are there few that be saved? And he said unto them, Strive to enter in at the straight gate, for many, I say unto you, will seek to enter in, and shall not be able." Why would they seek to enter but not be able? Because when they taste that honey, it's going to taste good. But when that bitterness comes, they will not know or have the ability to be comfortable in that uncomfortable situation. And so though they may desire it, they won't be able to make it because they can't put themselves through what they have to go through in order to get there. If you come with the mindset thinking that this truth is easy and it's fun and it's a game or it's a fan club, you won't be able to make it. Because you're not in this for the masteries. You're not in this because this is for you. You're in this for a reason that you don't understand. You're in this for fun. So what happens when the fun stops? You bounce. But when you're in this for the long run, whether fun, whether sweet, whether bitter, you got to deal with it. All right? And if you deal with it, you'll make it to the end. All right? As Peter said, if you give diligence, you can, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. Now, real quick, this is Adam Nana, Proverbs 24 and 16. "For a just man falleth 7 times," which is a complete number, "and riseth up again." See? You uncomfortable. You embarrassed. You just busted your ass in front of everybody. But you know what? You get your ass back up. Because whatever you're running for or you're fighting for is worth more than some little humiliation. It says, "But the wicked shall fall into mischief." So you may go off. We're not perfect. It happens. But guess what? Just because you go off, is that an excuse to stop fighting? No. People may look at you like, yo, this guy's a nigga. But deep down in your heart, you like, no. I went off. I understand that. I acknowledge that. I made a mistake. It's fine. You know what? It's fine. Man, we're all men. Perception is deception, right? People believe what they perceive. But in your heart, if you know look, I'm doing the work of the Lord, you keep doing the work of the Lord. It's uncomfortable being looked at as a nigga. When in your heart, you like, it was just an accident, or I did it and I repented and I'm still trying to do whatever. But if you learn to deal with that, the Lord is eventually going to bring you back. All right? And ultimately, what matters at the end of the day is that we make it on those chariots and we get delivered out of this place. Okay? That we get delivered out of this place, and there's only one way to do that. Because this thing is not easy. All right? But there was a saying, and I'm going to end it. It was a quote, I believe, by Bruce Lee, which was along the lines of, pray not for an easy life, but for the strength to endure a hard one. So that's what you have to pray for. Okay, we don't pray that this becomes easier. We just pray the Lord makes us hard and better and increases us so that we can make it and endure on to the end. All right. So with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect, the water for the precepts, the water for tuning in. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash. Get uncomfortable or get comfortable being uncomfortable. All right. Shalom.